The Railway Series. Terry, the Forgotten Engine. Written and performed by Christopher Burtwhistle. James's Ghost. It was a wet January, and the Fat Controller looked at some maps which laid across his desk in his office. The North Western Railway was looking for ways to expand, to further connect the towns across Sodor. I wonder, he said to himself as he looked down at the map. Work began at once. A few miles from the work station at Crovan's Gate was a big abandoned mining town. It was old and hadn't had anyone living in it for years. The people had moved away due to the ground becoming too hard to use to grow crops, and so it would make good solid foundations for a branch line. The Fat Controller oversaw the line's construction from James's cab. James grumbled dreadfully. It was horrible, slow work. He would puff forward a few inches, then wait for the men to chop down the bushes and ferns in the way, and then wait for them to use some small cranes to lay some ballast and eventually some track. Then, after an hour and a half of all that, he would repeat it. The work was slow, and the weather didn't help. But eventually they saw an old sign in the dirt. It read, Great Waterton. Nothing great about this place, James grumbled. However, as soon as they came up to the old brick road, the work sped up, and before long a small yard consisting of 2 sidings had been built to help with the recovery of the town. James had to shunt the cranes into one before he went home. However, when the driver tried to pull the lever, it stuck. The Fat Controller came to see what the matter was. I'm sorry, sir, but the points are jammed. We can't get James out. We must either walk home or stay here tonight. All the workmen groaned. Most of the men chose to walk home to fetch someone to fix the points in the morning, but James's driver and fireman stayed. They felt they needed to keep him company. However, to their surprise, the Fat Controller stayed as well. I am not as fit as I was in my younger days, so I will ride back with you in the morning. By the time night came, James was feeling nervous. The wind whistled in the trees in unnatural ways which almost sounded like whispers in the night. The driver, fireman, and the Fat Controller had all huddled in his cab and had long since fell asleep. I don't like this, he muttered to himself. Ah! He cried as an owl hooted, and gave him a shock. Luckily he didn't wake anyone. James felt a little foolish and tried to go back to sleep when he heard a voice. Hello, is anyone there? James whined. He hoped he'd just been hearing things. Unfortunately, he hadn't been so lucky. Oh, bother, must be hearing things, the voice called again. James was spooked and he screamed. This time, everyone woke up. The Fat Controller was just about to shout at James for waking him up when he heard the voice too. Hello, I heard you that time, I think. It's a ghost! James cried. The air filled with laughter. Curiously, the Fat Controller walked towards the sound of the voice and gasped. Inside a small farm shed laid a rusty engine. The engine was very strange looking and looked almost like a J50, a class of engine which had long since been thought to be extinct. The engine, however, was a mess. It had no wheels, no dome, and its funnel laid on the ground by its smoke box. The engine was in a fit of laughter. Oh, I'm no ghost, I'm just an old soul, it said. The engine's face was old, but kind-looking. Well, James, your ghost seems to be more lively than you thought. What are you doing here? Laughed the Fat Controller kindly as he examined the old engine. And this is the story he told.